Hello, everybody. Welcome to our episode 3 recap of Survivor Calgary, Wild Wild West. Krish, Taylor, lovely to see you both. Krish, what did you think of the episode?
It was good. It was a little shorter than usual, but it was like nice and short and sweet, and it's a good one as always.
Yeah, Taylor, how about you?
Yeah, short, but surprisingly full of a lot of action, I think. So I feel like it would have felt like it went by fast, even if it was a little bit longer. So yeah, great episode.
That's fair.
Super fun looking challenge
honestly,
too. Slink.
Yeah, the challenge ate up a lot of time. It was a really fun challenge, and obviously came right down to the money. So it was definitely worth spending some time with it. And I think that was a favorite of the people who were out there playing and watching too. It was definitely tricky to edit, but it was a good one for sure. I definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah, I was thinking about how hard it'd be to track those balls, and because you had the red circles over them.
Keegan crushed that. Yeah, absolutely. He did great on that. Ben put together a good portion of that challenge as well before handing it off to us, which was super nice. And we see Jared find 2 coins during it. We put 2 because we were sort of slow on a lot of the tribes finding these coins, and we wanted to sort of inject some energy into the game right away. We didn't think both would be found, but both were found by one person, which kind of is interesting for sure too. What do you think about Jared sort of keeping his eyes out and finding these these coins, Taylor?
Super impressive. After a season and a half of myself playing, I didn't find anything. So very impressive. I like that he's keeping it to himself. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, more so just won the foot race.
Fair.
But I like that he's keeping it to himself as well.
Yeah, no, totally. And he picks two of his friends, this Edmonton cohort that he's already voted out one of them, and now the game's like, okay, you got to take them all out now. Here's Joel and Trent, which is certainly an interesting position to be in going into a swap next week. Before we talk about the swap, though, because I do want to pick your guys' thoughts on what could sort of be the politics that we see here going forward. Let's talk about maybe first, let's start with the start of the episode with the Ugly Tribe sort of taking in some of their observations from the tribal council. Krish, what did you sort of think of their reads on the game from their very limited viewing of the bad tribes or tribal council?
Well, at first they said that Jared would be looks like a big threat, and going into the episode, it seemed like he might have actually been a little bit on the outs, but now he has two bounties on his hands, so maybe they just had a little bit of future sight or something like that. And then Saphir, they also brought up, and we kind of brought up in the last podcast how Saphir might have overshared a little bit in front of the last tribe, and they might have in front of the Ugly Tribe, and they might have picked up a little bit on that.
Yeah, they were able to pick up that, Laura was the one that swung the vote this way because of this and that and the other thing. And they're able to suss out, I think, as well, that because of the way things played out, one of these ugly or bad tribe members has to have Ali's token or Ali's bounty, and what that could potentially mean for swap dynamics going forward too. What did you guys think of how this challenge played out? How did you feel about the good tribe sort of collapse and the Ugly Tribe sort of triumphant moment, Krish?
Honestly, if anything sums golf up more than that moment, I don't know what does.
Yeah.
You can play amazing the whole course, and the last time just you get a little bit of the jitters and just can't keep it under control.
Yeah, it really did feel like just jitters for the good tribe there too. I do think that even if they weren't consciously talking about the game, the pairing of Ali, Ben, and Joel spending that entire time together on all 3 holes, which probably took about 30 minutes, does subconsciously make those 3 feel closer together as sort of the politics start on this good tribe. Taylor, what did you sort of think of how they approached this conversation and their decision to take out Tegan here?
Yeah, it was fair for Tegan to kind of assume that maybe they would be chatting throughout the competition, or like you said, they just had a lot of time to get a little bit of extra bonding in a game where you don't really get much time. So that, that's very valuable, I think. It really just seems like Ben and Ali are kind of running the show in that tribe. I'm kind of confused. I'm excited to figure it out eventually, but I don't see how. I'm just trying to figure out where Joel stands in it. Like, I don't know if they are like calling themselves a three, but it does seem like Ben and Ali like are a duo at this point.
I think one thing that was probably missed because of how we sort of had to hide who was going home here before the tribal council was that there was more talks here going on with Ben and Joel and Ali and Joel to sort of solidify that trust. I think Ben and Joel are starting to become closer in this moment. I think they were already pretty close after the last challenge. I think Ali and Joel are like very hesitant around each other still, but they do have some form of trust now, especially now after this last tribal council where they do vote together again for the second time. And I do think that like going into a swap, having 2 tribal councils under your belt where all 3 members going into the swap have voted together, that's usually actually pretty good in terms of, okay, we've worked together, we've put paper to parchment, pen to parchment, whatever you want to call it. We know that we can trust each other, at least kind of. Let's sort of move forward here together. Krish, what did you think of the decision to take out Tegan instead of, I guess Joel would have been the other option here for Ben and Ali?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough decision when it comes down to just 4 people in the tribe, but you spend a half hour hey doggo. You spend a half hour like in the woods doing this challenge together, and you've probably spent all of 3.5 hours in total together, so that half hour is a pretty big proportion of the time. So you just would feel more comfortable around those people.
100%, yeah. And I think Tegan talks about it a little bit as well. Sort of the get me out of here. I think she, at a certain point, the game was becoming a little bit much. And because of that, I think the rest of her tribe sort of sensed that disengagement a little bit and pulled back here. We're unfortunately not going to be able to talk to Tegan tonight because she's at work. We're hoping that Joel is able to join us here shortly. Haven't seen him join the stream yet, but we'll keep talking here in the meantime. I want to pick your guys' brains on what we could sort of expect from maybe a swap here. Maeve predicts that, hey, we're going into 12 people. We're probably going to swap into 2 tribes. Do you think it's likely that we swap into 2? Do you think it's likely that we go into a different 3? What are sort of your guesses here moving forward? Taylor, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think the two 6-person tribes make sense, but it's Survivor. You never know what's coming, so I could see you just mixing up 3 tribes again. Keep the numbers low, which is always kind of a fun thing and more of a chance to stir more of the pot up.
Yeah.
Either way, though, I'm just.
We saw here with the tribes, those tiny tribes, that kind of anyone can go. It's very easy to swing those numbers to any which way. And we do see Joel here join, but we'll talk a little bit more about the swap before we bring him in. Krish, any sort of thoughts on how all 3 of these tribes would maybe approach a swap going into it?
I just have a quick question about the bounties first, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Please.
So now that we're doing a swap, will they all refresh, or is it just like the ones that Baron would have taken will refresh?
So in this case, it would be Baron. Baron is the only one who would have had bounties and was voted off with those bounties. The ones that he held, specifically Alora and Ali, will go back on the board now once that swap is complete.
Okay, cool. And then how do I see this swap sort of playing out? I think it'll be really interesting. The Ugly Tribe hasn't been to Tribal Council yet, so they have this bond because they haven't had to turn on each other, but they also haven't experienced the chaos that comes with scrambling before Tribal Council. So depending on how they're split up, I could see them firstly being a target because they haven't been to Tribal Council yet, and then secondly, just it'll be the first time they're going, so that's not a fun learning experience, especially when other people have gone twice before.
No, definitely. And I think that like we already see some cracks form in that ugly tribe where we see Trent, Mitch maybe on the outs of a Maeve, Emily, Chelsea alliance. At least that's what they're sort of talking about so far. Taylor, any guesses for what you would do maybe from the if you're a member of the bad tribe or the good tribe here moving forward?
Hope that the swap is in your favor with some of your core people, because like you said, they have been through a little bit more with the tribals and everything, so the bond goes a little bit deeper. So they just got to pray that they're lucky come the swap, because really, like, yeah, it's just you got to find the results before you can kind of start moving forward, right? So because all your plans just go to shambles as soon as you get there. You got to roll with the punches.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, the tribes can go any which way. You could be the one person on your tribe that is totally outnumbered. You could be in a great position, seemingly by the numbers, but still go home. There's idols, there's shots in the dark. There's lots of things that can happen here too.
Plus all the bounties.
Yeah, still no advantages in the game, but maybe we get some swaps here. Like maybe we see Jared and Joel and Trent on a tribe or something like that. Like you never know. Ali and Emily could end up on a tribe together. Certainly some motivation to get some people out here. Let's bring in Joel here. I don't think he has his camera on.
Oh,
but that's okay.
Can you guys hear me?
We can. Yeah. Can you hear us?
We can hear you.
My camera present.
It's all good.
Start cam.
It's fine.
All right. I'm here in spirit.
Yeah. Joel, talk us through sort of the vote here. Was there ever any sort of doubt for you on who you might be voting for at this tribal council, and what did that sort of alternate plan look like?
No, so I was pretty clearly set on the Ben, Joel, Ali alliance, and I think they kind of missed it in episode 1. We had a little bit of a moment where the three of us kind of got together and we said, we feel pretty strong about this. But that being said, of course, there's kind of discussions there that Ali and Ben were kind of a strong 1 and 2 or vice versa. And I was a little bit on the outside of that alliance. So there was definitely that lingering tension of like, well, do I make a move with Tegan? But ultimately, I kind of felt that I needed to stay with those two in the time and make a move on Tegan. So I ultimately felt it was me or Tegan the entire episode, kind of like episode 1 where it felt like me or Kayla. So it's just someone or Joel as the theme of this season, and we're just going to keep rolling with the punches for the time being.
And so far, it hasn't been you.
No.
Yeah. So partially, like the edit leaving out the Ben Joel Chelsea or Ben Joel Ali thing was very much like a hey, we don't want to spoil episode 3 already. Let's not solidify this alliance too quick. Keegan has a question for you here, Joel. Was a potential upcoming swap part of that reasoning of, hey, let's just take out Tegan. I can trust Ben and Ali so far, and maybe there'll be a swap, and hopefully I'll be safe in that way.
Well, the idea of a swap was on my mind automatically because it felt interesting to be like, well, 3 people in a tribe, how's that going to work? But I was also praying for a swap because if we went to a challenge again and lost, with Ben and Ali being very solidly 1 and 2, I was definitely on the outs of that trio, I felt. So I was praying for a swap, but I kind of expected it. Flip side, though, is I wasn't necessarily playing too much into a swap. I was more so thinking long game. And honestly, a big part of it was that I just didn't get to see Tegan on day 0, and I had that bonding with Ben and Ali. The 3 of us being together for the bulk of the challenge, I don't think that necessarily was a benefit, and we didn't necessarily plan that to converse strategy. I think it just fell naturally into the fact that I like these 2. Let's all work the 3 of us together.
Totally makes sense. For context for listeners and maybe for Krish and Taylor who weren't out there, Emily and Tegan were driving up together and had some car troubles along the way, so showed up probably at about 11:30 the night of night 0, and so didn't sort of get that bonding time that can really be so important going into the day. And we saw Joel in episode 1 talk about like, hey, I just don't know Tegan as well as I know the other people on this tribe, and that sort of makes sense and definitely puts at least Tegan in this case sort of behind the 8 ball. Krish or Taylor, do you have any questions for Joel? Taylor, we'll start with you.
How did it feel to see your bounty get taken off the board, Joel?
In the moment, I was a little bit scared, but to be honest, the bounty thing as an amateur Survivor player was a little above my knowledge grade. So it was scary to see that, knowing that the more strategic and, dare I say, smarter players were in the midst of making some moves. But honestly, I was like, that's too bad. But I was just thinking one tribal council at a time. And that was my whole strategy the entire game, is just make it to the next one. And I've made it to this one. I don't think the bounty's going to have a major impact on me this game. I didn't think Allie had it because I thought she honestly played it as her gold coin. And then it was revealed later that she had Emily's bounty. So it was a little bit skeptical or scared. But in the moment, I was like, let's just get this person out and let's move on to the next one and rebuild.
Nice.
Yeah.
Krish, do you have any questions for Joel?
I do not today. Sorry.
That's okay. We do have a question from Cam. Cam, question for Joel. If a swap doesn't happen and the good tribe goes back, did you feel confident you'd be safe in this scenario? I feel like the answer is probably no from what you said. But...
Yeah. So the answer is no. I'd like to think I could have finagled one or the other to maybe be like, hey, this guy's kind of tall and is wearing some cowboy stuff. Like, let's keep him around. But definitely in that trio, I definitely felt like the bottom third. And that was just something that I was not comfortable with, but hopefully I can use that to my advantage going down the road.
We did see Ben and Allie talking a little bit about how to handle her gold coin. It didn't quite make the edit of you chatting with her about, hey, should we do gold? Should we do silver? That sort of thing. Yeah. But how did you feel about Allie's gold coin in general? Was that a worry for you? Did you see that as an opportunity?
Honestly, I didn't see it as too worrisome. I thought it was more of an advantage for us because at that time we're still the good tribe, and I thought we could use this as an advantage for us together. I wasn't too worried of her pinning it quite on me. Obviously, you can sense some distrust for her towards me because maybe I'm a bit of a mumbler or a little wishy-washy when I talk, but I still felt pretty solid about Allie, and I was looking forward to working with her in this game, but hopefully in the later game too at the point. So I didn't see it as a scare, more as an advantage for us in the long game.
Makes sense. One other question for you I have here, Joel, too, is we've seen Jared and Baron target each other. We've seen Chelsea and Trent target each other. You're another member of this sort of Edmonton contingency, as Baron called it, that came down. What was your sort of thoughts on how you might handle the relationships with the people that you knew coming down?
It's a really good question. So after episode 1 and 2, me and my Edmonton friends have chatted, and we didn't feel there was this intense Edmonton contingency. Of course, knowing that we're all from Edmonton, it could be seen as an alliance under the radar. We didn't necessarily see it so much as that. But that being said, it was definitely cat out of the bag that, for example, me and Trent were very, very close out of this game. Me and Jared, me and Chelsea. I've known Baron out of this game. But ultimately, we weren't necessarily thinking of working together or working apart. We just kind of saw each other as survivors in this game. And when push comes to shove, I'm sure we would have worked together. But you can also even see it in the early game. Like Baron got voted out second episode. So he was the first Edmontonian voted out by another Edmontonian. And then in the very first start of this episode, you can already see Trent. He's already kind of throwing Jared's name under the bus as far as, he's kind of a threat. So that. So I don't see a lot of friendship and, there's friendship outside of this game, but in this game, I think the Edmontonians are a little bit more at each other's throats than trying to help each other out. We'll see how that plays out in the long run.
No, I think you're right. I think we sort of talked about this a little bit last week, Krish and Taylor, where it was like, we don't know if Trent is being honest because he's being honest, or if because he's being honest and to like present things in a certain way.
Yeah.
And I think that might be sort of the case with what he's doing with Jared here, where basically he says, Jared voted out his closest ally, Baron, and like already sort of trying to talk about, maybe this Edmonton contingent doesn't exist by sort of putting it out there. Oh, there's Joel. We get to see his face. Keegan touches on it here, but one last question for you here, Joel, while we have you on camera, is how was it watching back and seeing Jared pull your bounty?
Hilarious. So I didn't know that he had my bounty, or I might have, and I forgot about it until that moment. And it was just hilarious seeing him pull mine and Trent's bounty, because it was like, that's poetic. Let's make Game of Thrones go a little bit more with the throat. And it could not have been more unplanned because he literally just pulls it very slyly, might I add. Like, very subtle that he picked up those 2 bounties impressively during that challenge. And then while the good tribe was deliberating, the ugly tribe was busy soaking their feet in the water. He just kind of walks up to Eric and gives him the old, hey, man, 2 of these, real subtle, and picks him up. So I found it hilarious. And it's interesting how that's going to play out in the later game.
Yeah, I remember after that challenge, I was very curious to see if anyone sort of like talk about, oh, hey, we saw Jared do this in confessional, anything like that. Nothing. He was super sly with grabbing those tokens and kept it hidden the entire time. Joel, do you have anything lastly that you want to say before we pop back to just me, Krish, and Taylor for some predictions moving forward?
Well, 2 things. One, I found it really interesting because I didn't really see the ugly tribe really at all in that first little bit because we were busy in our own heads at tribal council and they didn't necessarily quote unquote need to play the game a whole lot. But it was really interesting seeing the ugly tribe kind of make some strategies long term, saying like, do we vote out Ali in this game in the late game or vice versa? So it was really interesting seeing that. And I just do have to shout out about that golf challenge. Personally, it was my favorite challenge of the entire game. It was so well put together. And I don't know if the TV captured how amazing that second shot of Trent and the ugly tribe, like just seeing Mitch's head pop up from the bottom of the creek there and just having oh crap, we need to get this in 4 shots, and just watching our team absolutely crumble under the pressure it was probably my most heart-breaking Survivor moment. But I'm so proud of my buddy for making that work. Just incredible gameplay, and I hope he carries that in life as a lawyer in the long run. I hope that's on his resume.
I hit that shot one time in Survivor Calgary. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. No, like I'm joking, but like, good on you guys. Like, I'm so proud of you.
Totally. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Joel. Krish, Taylor, any last things you want to say before we wrap up the recap today, Krish?
Can it be next Monday already? I'm excited to see what happens with the swap.
We actually have this episode edited. We got episode 3 fully edited, finished last night, I think at about 9 p.m. This coming episode 4 and episode 5 are already all done and ready to go. So nice. That's good. We're not working too far under pressure, so I have a little bit of time to set up my computer and my internet and whatnot. Taylor, any thoughts before we wrap up the recap today?
I'm just excited for the swap. I am excited to see what Chelsea does with the info she got from Trent saying that he wants to target Jared or is sus of Jared. And yeah, let's get swapped up or let's spice it up. I'm ready.
I will leave a little teaser, just a little extra teaser for the recap people and for Taylor and Krish here. Next week, it will be a swap into 2 tribes. And 1 tribe will be made up of a split of 3, 2, and 1. 3 members of one tribe, 2 members of another tribe, and 1 member of another tribe. I'll leave you
wow. That's okay. Ooh.
Thank you very much, everyone for watching. Please remember to subscribe to Live Reality Games. Go check out the latest episodes of Survivor Calgary as they happen. And extra special thank you to Krish and Taylor for joining me again, and Joel for joining the call here. Thanks, everyone, for watching. See you next week. Thanks. Bye.